From Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, I'm David Gavri, and this is the Vegas Faces podcast, where we talk with Las Vegas locals about what it's really like to live in the City of Lights. Whether you're living in Vegas, moving to Vegas, or just visiting Vegas and looking for new adventures, together let's discover the hidden gems that make Sin City the most visited place on earth. Hey everybody, welcome to the Vegas Faces podcast, where we talk everything Vegas and what it's like to live in the entertainment capital of the world. I'm David Gavri. I'm a Las Vegas realtor with Realty One Group Summerlin. Shout out to our producer Paul behind the scenes, making us all look good. Today's topic is the NHL draft is right here in Las Vegas. Is Vegas the best city for such an occasion? What kind of excitement can we expect of this year's NHL draft? With us today is Russ Cohen, a sports writer, SiriusXM broadcaster, and author of 10 books. He's also the co-host of Off the Post radio podcast and the co-host of Locked On Flyers podcast. When it comes to hockey, Russ is the best person I know. Russ was on Vegas Faces a year ago, episode 12, before the Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. He picked Vegas to win it, made the right prediction. Can't wait to hear what he's got for us today. So let's get right into it. Russ, welcome back to Vegas Faces. What do we know about this year's NHL draft?
Thanks, David. Well, I mean, we know it's the first quote-unquote sporting event at the Sphere, right? So that's something that I guess is historic. I guess the UFC has kind of come in after. Nobody's going to skate or hit anybody in this, but it'll be fun. The NHL draft's interesting because I feel like it's run better than most of the sports. Football, while it's got a lot of glitz, I don't love the football draft and don't think that every player should hug, the commissioner. I just not in love with that idea. They don't do it that way at the NHL draft, so that's fun. The GMs and everybody are there, right by where the players are, so a lot of deals can happen. They'll talk about those live. That's nice. So there's, some different aspects that makes this draft a little different than if you're used to watching the NFL draft, let's say.
Yeah, I had no idea it was at the Sphere. That's exciting to me. I love the Sphere. Have you seen the Sphere last time you were in Vegas? Were you able to see it when they were building it?
I didn't. I've just seen pictures. People have told me. I know you two played there. And, yeah, it looks great. I think it'll be interesting when, Matt Celebrini is the guy who's expected to go first. And when he gets put out on the Sphere and everybody can see him across the country and the city. And, I think that'll be fun. I don't know if in the sixth round it's going to matter if a guy gets picked up and he's from, Moose Jaw, and I don't know if people have the same kind of excitement at that point. The later rounds, putting everybody's picture up on the Sphere could be interesting because, there's going to be players that are just really unknown. It'll be fun for their families, though.
But that's how it goes, though, right? I mean, wasn't Tom Brady one of the last people picked in the NFL draft? And so, does that but does that happen in hockey where a low draft pick also eventually becomes an all-star and things like that, or high draft pick ends up being fizzles out?
There's certainly more busts than there are that story, but Rangers goalie Henrik Lundqvist is a 7th round pick. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So there's plenty of guys like that. But yeah, every year there's busts. I mean, you're only talking about maybe 60 guys out of this draft that play 200 games. So that's, that's what usually happens. But on draft day, it's a different kind of feel. Everybody's optimistic. Everybody talks about what's great. The families are there. Players are very excited. This is like a dream come true. They've all been waiting for this since they were little squirts playing at the age of, 8 years old or sometimes a little later. So yeah, it's just, it's fun. The emotions run high at the draft. And then, yeah, there's once in a while there's trades. Players sometimes get traded. Picks will certainly get traded. And nobody's going to trade for the first pick overall or anything like that. It's not as volatile as the NFL is.
Who has the first pick this year?
First pick, San Jose Sharks.
And where does Vegas fall in? And can we get a little into, without getting too crazy technical, but just what do you know about who Vegas might be picking up, or what they might be looking for, or what they need? I know they were out. They lost first round of the playoffs this year, so I know compared to last year winning the Stanley Cup, a bit of a disappointment, but also I know how hard it is. So, what can you tell us about Vegas Golden Knights?
So yeah, at 19, they'll get a decent player. Top 20 is still a pretty good spot to be in this draft. Like I have rankings on www.nhldraftbuzz.com, but those are rankings. It's not a mock draft where I'm predicting who a play, where a player goes to what team. But I'm going to do that for you now and tell you that I would like Sasha Bovair in that spot. He's a guy who played in the USHL. He's a center, big kid, power forward. I also would like. There's a guy named Luke Misa who's a center who played for Mississauga this year. Really good playmaker, could do really well for them. There's a kid, Trevor Connolly, who had like a minor indiscretion early in his career, and so some teams may hold that against him. Tremendous talent. If he drops to Vegas, I could see Vegas taking him. He probably is a top 8 talent in this draft, but because of that issue he had, teams are going to be a little gun shy, but I don't think it's anything Vegas would have to worry about. So, those are 3 names for you right there.
Yeah. How does it work with the NHL? Like, I know for like basketball, a lot of the time, if they're a superstar in college, they're immediately a superstar in the NBA. But something like the NFL, it might take a little bit longer, especially if it's a quarterback or depending on which position. Does it take a while for people who get drafted into the NHL to acclimate to the big leagues, or do sometimes they just are right out the gate superstars?
Most of the time it takes a while. It's, because you're talking about 18-year-old kids. With college, players are older. They're 21, 22, 23, even sometimes older. So that's a little easier to predict. Last year's pick, Connor Bedard, great player for Chicago Blackhawks. He's probably going to win Rookie of the Year, the Calder, and see, I think he had 50 points. Where somebody leads the league to have like 110 or 20 points. So, and he was really good. He did get hurt, but he's a guy that if had he played a full season, he would have. He had 61 points. So I think if he would have played a full season, he'd have probably had like 70, 75 points. Which is exceptional for a guy that age. Sidney Crosby's a name everybody knows, and he was good right out of the gate. But there's not as many of those guys.
Yeah. And what about Vegas? Like, has the NHL draft been to Vegas ever?
No.
I know it's the first time at the Sphere, but oh wow. So never before.
Never been to Vegas.
Okay. And
they've
what
had
makes
the awards. They've had the awards at Vegas. Like I went there years ago when the draft was in LA, and they used to have the awards every year at the Palms. And so, I've been there once before for that.
And what do you know just about Vegas in general, hosting the NHL draft? What kind of pros and cons do you see?
Well, I think the pros are it's pretty easy for everybody to get to. So I think flights aren't overly expensive. Hotels are not overly expensive. I feel like food's good. Yeah, you can hit the buffets and stuff and save some money. I also think there's other sides of Vegas, that have great food that aren't on the Strip. Like I can't remember the name of the place. A good friend of mine used to live there, so I visited him once or twice, and I had one of the best black and white cookies I've ever had in my life in Vegas. And in the older part, so there's plenty of those kinds of places. I think people, there's enough to do. I think the prospects will be excited because of all the glitz. Usually, day or two before, there's a interview session with a lot of the prospects, and if they did that at like in front of the Bellagio or something like that, I feel like that would be pretty scenic. The NHL's had a few events out in Vegas before, and so this is just now something a little different. And this will be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another event in addition to what we've already had, like Formula One and Super Bowl, and just it's just a continuous momentum in Vegas with all the events that we've had. But when you're talking about like lunch places, the place that we went last time you were in town at Beer Park, I want to talk about just because the view there was fantastic, regardless of whether we liked the food or not. You could see the Bellagio fountains. It was on a great day in terms of weather. It wasn't too hot outside. But do you remember any other restaurants from your other visits here in Vegas that you might want to be looking forward to when you're in town, or are you just here for business? Like, what do you like to do when you're not working here?
I mean, I'm there mostly for business. There'll be a lot of alcohol involved, no question about it. Uh, Maybe I'll go to Hell's Kitchen. Maybe I won't. I watch the TV show. I admit it. I've been to a couple of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants, and they're good. Like they have them here in Atlantic City. So, yeah, I did want to mention that in 2022, the All Star game was in Vegas because I remember the guys were shooting in front of the Bellagio, like shooting pucks. So, but I didn't want to get the date wrong. But yeah, other restaurants, I have nothing particular in mind. Like you said, I like the place we went to. I like that diner. I'd probably go back to that. Um, that old school diner was good.
Oh yeah, Peppermill.
Yeah, being an East Coast guy, Peppermill was a nice place. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be looking for pizza. There's no great pizza in Vegas, I'm sure.
We've got some good stuff. There's a Giordano's, which is from Chicago, which is good. But you're an East Coast guy, so
Yeah, Giordano's is good. I'm okay with deep dish, but it's more like a pie than a pizza. So it's like, we from like New York area, whatever. We kind of like the thinner pizza that you could fold. We don't necessarily want pizza that you need a knife and fork.
when it comes to like people who eat pizza a lot, it's really, I love the New York slice. And in fact, I hope that if anyone's listening that knows New York slices out here in Vegas, please contact us, comment, and let us know where can we get a good, yeah.
I'll video it and tell you what I think of it. I mean, I was just in Manhattan 2 days ago and sampled a couple of nice slices. Good Sicilian is good Sicilian. I always like that too.
I believe we got a Peter Luger's out here in Vegas. I could be wrong. I think it's at the Caesars, but I'm not sure. Again, someone please comment, correct us. But if that's okay, yeah, I don't know if that's like an East Coast staple or if that's just kind of like a
It is. I think it was in New York City. I think that's where I had been to it.
okay. Yeah, but other than that, like, do you have anything outside of work when you're in Vegas? If it's not food, if it's not seeking extra, outdoor activities, do you have anything that is it concerts? Like, what do you look forward to when you come to Vegas besides?
Yeah, I certainly would look forward to concerts. Vegas, I'm trying to think. Um, I saw what Chelsea. No, I forget her last name. The comic. She has a bunch of shows there in Vegas. I wouldn't mind going to see her. Sorry, I forget your last name, but um, also I know there's a lot of bands that will have like couple 6 month, 1 year runs there. I don't know who maybe has one of those now. I remember when Britney Spears, as an example, was in Vegas, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know who else is doing that. I certainly would look and see. Cirque du Soleil is fun. I've done that already, though. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like Cirque du Soleil out. I could tell you that because I'm not like a big gambler, I actually, one time, we went out there. I had to help out a friend with some stuff. My wife and I went to Mount Shasta. Had a great time hiking around there. It's kind of uncommon compared to what you see in the city, right? You don't expect to see like really nice mountains and hiking trails and stuff. So that was nice. We went to Hoover Dam. We took a drive, went to Hoover Dam. That was fun. I would always tell people go do that if you can. It's an amazing site. But yeah, around Vegas, I don't mind walking down the strip, seeing what I see, going into places. You go into Flamingo, you see, the flamingos are walking around. That kind of stuff's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for you to see the Sphere on the inside. I was there for the U2 concert a little while back. You're like on another planet. So I'm really excited to see what you're going to experience for the NHL draft, how they're going to do it up for it.
Yeah, I'm like on another planet anyhow. But I have good access with the NHL and the Sphere, so I'll be pretty close to the stage and such because I do pre and post for Sirius XM. So on the first day. So I'm pretty busy that first night. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll be looking out. Yeah, this is going to be unlike anything else. It's not like usually they do them in stadiums. So this isn't a stadium, you know.
Yeah.
So it'll be different. Tickets are, they're selling tickets. They haven't sold tickets to many drafts. I think maybe it started 5-6 years ago when they started selling tickets. I imagine the tickets for this will probably be at a higher price than some of the previous drafts. I don't know if they'll have overflow at outside. Maybe they will. It'd be nice if they do. So it's a lot of
Yeah.
unknown. Like I usually could tell you a lot of things ahead of time, what they're going to do, when they're going to do them. But because this was all like, hey, this is all brand new territory, and the owner, James Dolan, who owns the Sphere, owns the Rangers. So, you know, that's another connection there. But again, most people in the business and otherwise haven't been to the Sphere yet.
Is that also the same guy that owns MSG?
Yeah, MSG, Radio City, probably a few other things.
Yeah. There might be overflow. If you're saying they usually do them in stadiums, I think Sphere only seats, 20,000, something like that. So
yeah, but it's a draft. I don't think they'll fill 20,000 for a draft.
Yeah.
If they do, hey, great for them. That's a big goal.
Yeah. It's fun. It's always funny. Like there are some diehard draft fans out there regardless of which sport. I mean, I knew kids in college that would religiously watch the NFL draft from the first pick down to the last pick, and they made a whole weekend out of it. Like, so, it's going to be interesting
3
to
days
see.
now. The NFL draft's 3 days, which is insanity. The NHL draft is 2. And,
wow.
I think 2, you got to be a really good fan to sit there on the second day. So, yeah, but I'm sure there's going to be quite a few. I think for this one, it will be more of a spectacle. So I think you might get a few more people watching longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime it's Vegas, it's always a spectacle, right?
It is. I mean, and that's the beauty of it. The weather is going to, probably be, 90 degrees, right? So it's, I'm not going to be all dressed up. I'm going to wear a golf shirt. I'm not wearing a suit. Forget that. Because I'm staying close by. I'll probably walk to the venue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll probably be in the mid hundreds, maybe even 110s, but maybe, you might need one of those fans that you plug into your phone. So while you're on your phone, there's a fan.
I think my walk is like 10, 15 minutes. I can do it. I did it last year for the Stanley Cup. I'll survive.
Just hydrate.
Actually, one day, well, I do hydrate. One day I walked like 5 miles though, because I didn't have a car and I just kept going back and forth to the hotel, to other different places, to the T-Mobile. So I probably walked more last year than I will this year.
It's fun though. Like the summertime in Vegas, it's unlike any other season. No matter how hot it is out here, I mean, this is when everybody comes to Vegas. This is peak season, so it's always nice to have that summer vibe. It's just something in the air. It just feels really good, and people are excited over all kinds of different things. This is one of many events this summer that should excite people. So it's always fun.
Yeah, there'll be people from a lot of different countries. You'll have a lot of Canadians, which I'm sure a lot of Canadians go already. But you'll have people from Czechia. You'll have people from Russia. You'll have people from a lot of different countries. And I think that's fun. Because certainly a lot of those people have never been. So, and especially the kids. So to get their quotes afterwards, to see how they view the city. Because there have been some guys. I've interviewed a lot of guys pre-draft already, and I don't think one had said they've been to Vegas. Maybe one. So for everybody, it's kind of like this new experience. Whether you're an American kid, a Canadian kid, whatever. So, and, you got to think about it. If you're 18, Vegas has got to be exciting as hell. So that it'll be fun for me. They'll probably energize me talking to them about their experience.
Yeah. If you're 18 with a fake ID, it's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like what I used to be, like 17 with a fake ID on Long Island, but that's a long time ago.
Are you excited about any interviews? Anybody that you're looking forward to? Any maybe new rookie prospects? Someone that you're excited to talk to this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Matt could celebrate. He's the number one guy. I didn't get to talk to him this year, so that'll be fun to talk to him. Ivan Demidov, if he shows up from Russia, you know, because of everything that goes on in Russia, we generally don't see these kids anymore because
Yeah.
they're not in Russia's not in a lot of tournaments, as you know, because of things that have gone on in the world. So I certainly would be excited to talk to him because, yeah, I mean, you just don't see interviews with the Russian players as much or translated ones. There's a Russian who played at Michigan State this year, Artem Lashunov. He'll go in the top 5 picks. I definitely want to talk to him. I probably could have tracked him down this year, but I didn't. So those and there's a kid from Norway, Michael Brandiseg Nygaard. Definitely want to talk to him. Any of these Norwegian guys are always a little different, and so that's fun too.
Wow, very exciting, Russ. Before we wrap it up, how can we plug? We've got multiple podcasts that you host. We've got books, website. Feel free to to mention all that you'd like to be out there.
Yeah, main things are off the post as far as podcast. Locked On Flyers is another one that I do. Both are on YouTube, so that's fine. www.sportsology.com, NHLDraftBuzz.com. Those will have all my draft articles. There's already a ton up on DraftBuzz.com, and then some of the other things on Sportsology will be things going on around the draft. Some of the other stories. So yeah, like that picture there, you could see that's from the Stanley Cup final in the corner, and that's Connor Bedard, I believe, the guy who went first overall last year. So yeah, a lot of different content. You can see there's a picture of Madison Square Garden up there. I just wrote about that the other day. So yeah, but for the draft stuff, it'll be on draftbuzz.com and epringside.com. I have a lot of articles, but it's behind a paywall, so you have to join. But the draft guide that we work on all year is coming out in about 2 weeks for EP Ringside. So good place to go buy it and check it out.
Russ, quick question about the Stanley Cup. So again, I don't know as much about hockey as you do. So Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup last year. And it seems like the cup itself, the actual Stanley Cup trophy, goes on tour. And just randomly, I'll see a picture on Instagram or something where someone took a selfie next to the Stanley Cup trophy. And I'm like, how do people find out where it is? What is that about? Like, you just travel, like they just take the trophy on tour to whatever bars and restaurants and like, what is that?
There's a guy named Phil Pritchard, and he's the keeper of the cup. He travels with it all year, but around playoff time, generally the cup could be found on certain days before playoff games start, or sometimes at that arena. So you follow the Stanley Cup on Twitter, and you could find that out. As far as post Stanley Cup, what's nice is players all get a day with the cup. So players, coaches, so they all plan things in their hometowns, right? And the Stanley Cup goes with them. So it's nice. The reason the Stanley Cup is the best award in sports, the best trophy in sports, is because you could drink out of it. You could drink out of it. You could eat out of it. So people do a lot of inventive things. It's ended up at the bottom of the pool at Mario Lemieux's house. A lot of different things. It's ended up in strip clubs. A lot of things have happened to the cup over the years, and this has been around for many, many years. So, and this isn't the original. The original is at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. I want to say it's either 5 to 7 years, they take off the next ring at the bottom and they bring it back to the Hall of Fame. So, like as an example,
okay.
if you ever heard of Gordie Howe, he was a great old player. His name is no longer on the cup, the one that's out now, because they took it off a couple of years ago. So that keeps getting rotated, those cylinders that you see. So
interesting.
It's So
yeah, because that was another one. I was wondered what happens when they run out of space, but that makes sense. They just replace it.
They just replace it. So that's why if you want to see that older stuff, then you got to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is a great place. I've been many times.
Which is where?
In Toronto. Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Toronto. It's a hard downtown Toronto. Maybe on Dundas Street. I could be wrong about that, but I kind of think it's right. So yeah, Really great place to go.
It's funny because when they present the cup, the guy's wearing the gloves, like it's very shiny. He's got his gloves, but meanwhile, people are eating pizza and drinking beer out of it, and like you said, taking it to bars and strip clubs.
Yeah, I heard the other day, and this kind of shocked me. They use Dawn dish soap to clean it. That's what they use. You would think they use some kind of fancy, polish.
Special wax.
You would think,
Yeah.
special. No, they use Dawn. By the way, that's my dog in the background who is slowly peeling off the cover, that protective cover we have on our couch, and she's laying out there. She's a retired racing greyhound, so
Yeah, she's pretty much, where we will be in the next half hour, probably, all of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely me. No question about that.
Russ, it's always fun to talk to you, always fun to check in with you. And when you have some time away from the draft, love to grab a bite with you as well. And
absolutely.
The last thing I'll say is thank you again for being one of the Vegas Faces.
Yeah, always fun coming on. I enjoyed it last time. I enjoyed it now. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thank you for subscribing to Vegas Faces on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok under the name Gavri Group. That's Gavri Group. Thanks, everybody. See you at the next episode.